You have no idea what Helm's Deep was really like. You've heard the songs, the tales of heroes, Aragorn holding the gate, Legolas with his impossible shots, Gimli counting kills like it was sport, the riders charging at dawn, Gandalf arriving with the sun, victory snatched from certain death, all true, all of it. But that's not the whole story. That's not what it was like for the rest of us, for the men who weren't heroes, who weren't in the songs, who stood on those walls and watched hell itself march toward us, who saw things, did things, survived things that no one should have to see, to do, to survive. It was horror. Pure, unfiltered carnage. Blood and screaming and death everywhere, constant, overwhelming. The kind of horror that doesn't fade, that doesn't heal, that stays with you forever, burned into your mind, into your soul, into everything you are. I know because I was there, on the walls, in the battle, in the nightmare, and I need you to understand, need you to know what it was really like. Not for the heroes, for us, the common men, the ones who had no right to survive, who shouldn't have survived, who somehow, impossibly, did. I survived. Somehow. I shouldn't have, had no right to. But I did. And this is what happened. The refugees came to Helm's Deep 3 days before the battle. Hundreds of us, thousands maybe, from the villages, from the valleys, running from Saruman's army, from the Uruk-hai that were burning everything, killing everyone, marching toward us with the certainty of an avalanche, unstoppable, inevitable, death given form and purpose. My wife and my children went into the caves, the glittering caves beneath the fortress where the women and children would hide, would wait, would pray that the men above them could hold, could protect them, could do something, anything, to stop what was coming. I kissed them goodbye, told them I'd see them soon. I lied because we both knew. My wife knew. I knew that I wasn't coming back, that I was going to die up there, that this was the last time, the last kiss, the last moment, the last everything. But I smiled, told my son to be brave, told my daughter I loved her, walked away before they could see me break, before the terror could show, before they could know that their father was a coward walking to his death. King Theoden stood in the courtyard, tall, grim, a warrior born, a man who knew battle, who understood war. He looked at all of us, the refugees, the villagers, the civilians, and he knew what he was about to ask, what he had to ask, what there was no choice but to ask. Every man who can stand, he said, his voice carrying across the courtyard, strong, certain, commanding. Every man who can hold a weapon. You will fight. You will defend this fortress. You will protect those in the caves. There are not enough soldiers, not enough warriors. We need everyone, all of you, or we will fall, and everyone will die. No choice, no option. Just necessity, just the brutal mathematics of war. We had maybe 300 trained soldiers, professional warriors, Rohirrim who knew how to fight, who had trained for this, who stood some chance, some hope, some possibility of survival. And we had 10,000 Uruk-hai coming, professional killers bred for war, created for slaughter, coming to break us, to kill us, to prove that Rohan, that men, that everything we were meant nothing against Saruman's power, against his manufactured army, against his certainty of victory. 300 warriors against 10,000 killers. The math was simple, impossible. We would lose, we would die, we would fail, unless everyone fought. Everyone. The old men, the boys barely old enough to hold swords, the craftsmen, the farmers, the bakers, people like me who had no business holding weapons, who would die in the first minutes, who would fail, who would break, who would prove, absolutely prove, how inadequate we were. But we had no choice. So we stood, we accepted, we nodded, we pretended that we could do this, that we stood some chance, that terror and determination could somehow substitute for skill, for training, for any idea what we were doing. They brought us to the armory and gave us what they could, what remained, what the real soldiers didn't need. Mismatched pieces, dented shields, swords that had seen better days, armor that didn't fit, helmets too large or too small, whatever could be found, whatever could be scraped together, whatever might give us some fractional chance of surviving the first moments of contact. They gave me a breastplate, steel, heavy. The straps didn't quite fit, hung loose on one side, tight on the other, made breathing difficult, made moving awkward. But it was armor. It might stop a blade, might deflect an arrow, might buy me seconds. Maybe. Possibly. If I was lucky. A helmet, too large, kept sliding forward, covering my eyes. I had to tilt my head back to see, had to push it up constantly. But it protected my head, supposedly, theoretically. If anything hit hard enough, the helmet would just drive my skull down into my neck. But it was better than nothing. Probably. Maybe. A shield, wood and iron, dented, scarred. The leather grip was worn smooth by someone else's hand, someone who had used this before, who had maybe died using this before. The thought made my hands shake, made gripping it difficult, made everything difficult. And a sword, steel, 3 feet long, heavy, unfamiliar. Wrong. I'd held swords before as a boy, playing, pretending. But this wasn't pretending. This was real. This was a tool for killing, for cutting, for ending lives. And I had no idea how to use it. A veteran soldier found me, grizzled, scarred, old enough to be my father, young enough to still fight, still kill, still do what needed doing. His name was Teol, a commander, someone who knew, who understood, who had survived battles before, who might survive this one. Might not, but at least he knew what he was doing. He looked at us, the conscripts, the civilians, the desperate collection of untrained men pretending to be soldiers, and I saw it in his face, the understanding, the knowledge, the certainty that most of us would die, that he was looking at dead men, that all he could do was try to give us some chance, some tiny fractional possibility, some way to maybe, survive the first moments. "Listen," he said, his voice hard, practical, with no comfort, no lies, just reality. "You don't know how to fight. You won't learn in the hours we have left. But I can tell you what might keep you alive. For a few minutes. Maybe longer. Pay attention." He showed us how to hold the sword, not how I'd been holding it, not like a club, but like a tool, like something with purpose. Weight forward, blade angled, ready to stab, to thrust, to drive the point into flesh. Not to slash, not to swing, to stab. Because amateurs who swing miss, leave themselves open, die. When they come over the wall, Teol said, and they will come over the wall, don't think, don't hesitate. Drive the point into them. Anywhere. Chest, throat, belly. Doesn't matter. Just drive it in, pull it out, do it again. Keep doing it until they stop moving or until you die. Those are your options. Kill or die. Nothing else matters. He showed us how to stand, feet apart, balanced, shield up, covering center mass, protecting throat and chest, sword ready, point forward, waiting. Not attacking, not charging. Waiting. Let them come to you. Use the wall, use the height, use any advantage, any edge, any tiny thing that might help. You'll be terrified, Teol continued. You'll want to run. Don't. Running means dying, means leaving the men beside you to die, means everyone in the caves below dies. You stand, you hold, you fight until you can't, and then you fight anyway, because that's all there is. That's all we can do. Stand and make them pay for every foot of wall, every inch of stone, every one of us they kill. He looked at me directly, his eyes hard, knowing, seeing. You're terrified, he said. Not a question, a statement, a fact. Yes, I said. No point lying, no point pretending. He knew, could see it, could probably smell it. Good, Sjoll said. Fear keeps you alert, keeps you moving, keeps you alive. It's the ones who aren't afraid, the ones who think they're ready. They die first, die stupid, die surprised. You stay afraid, you stay smart. You might see dawn. He moved on down the line, giving the same instructions, the same brutal honesty, the same tiny fragments of hope wrapped in reality, wrapped in the understanding that most of us, would die tonight on these walls, in this fortress, in a war we didn't start, didn't understand, didn't deserve. I looked at the men around me, the ones who would stand beside me, who would fight beside me, who would probably die beside me. Some were old, 60, 70, men who should be grandfathers, who should be telling stories, who should be warm and safe and far from war. But they held swords, wore armor, stood ready because everyone was needed. Everyone. Some were young, boys, 15, 16, who should be learning trades, finding wives, starting lives. But they held swords, looked terrified, looked like they wanted their mothers, looked like they knew, absolutely knew, they weren't going home. And some were like me, middle-aged craftsmen, farmers, bakers, men with families, with lives, with everything to lose. Standing because we had to, because running meant everyone died. Because maybe, if we stood, if we fought, if we held, our families might survive, might live, might see tomorrow, even if we didn't. Night was falling, the sun dropping behind the mountains, darkness coming. And with it, with the darkness, them, the Uruk-hai, Saruman's army, 10,000 strong, marching toward us, coming to kill us, coming to prove that men, that Rohan, that everything we were wasn't enough, could never be enough against manufactured perfection, against bred killers, against overwhelming force. We climbed to the walls and found our positions, stood ready. The rain started, cold, heavy, soaking through everything, making the stones slippery, making grips uncertain, making everything worse, everything harder, everything more desperate. And we waited, stood in the rain, in the darkness, in the terrible growing certainty that something was coming, something worse than anything we'd imagined, something that would break us, kill us, end us. And we were right. The silence was worse than anything. Standing there, waiting, hearing nothing except rain, except our own breathing, except the tiny sounds of men shifting, adjusting grips, trying to stay ready, trying not to think about what was coming. But we knew it was coming, felt it. The certainty, the inevitability, the knowledge that somewhere out there in the darkness they were marching, moving, getting closer with every moment, every breath, closer. Then, distant, barely audible a sound. Not rain, not wind, something else, something wrong. A drum, deep, rhythmic, slow, the beat of something massive, something deliberate, something that didn't hurry because it didn't need to, because it was inevitable, unstoppable, coming whether we were ready or not. The drum got louder, closer, joined by others, more drums, creating a rhythm, a beat, a pulse like a heartbeat, like something alive, something huge, something that wanted us to know, to hear, to understand that it was coming, that we couldn't stop it, that we were going to die. And then, worse, the voices, not singing, not exactly, but chanting, guttural, harsh, inhuman sounds, words maybe, or just noise, just the sound of things that shouldn't exist, making sounds that shouldn't be possible, sounds that made your skin crawl, made your stomach turn, made every instinct scream to run, hide, flee. But there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Just the wall, just the rain, just the darkness, and the sound getting louder, closer, filling everything. The drums, the chanting, the screeching, the laughing. Gods, the laughing. High-pitched, manic, wrong. The sound of things that enjoyed killing, that wanted to kill, that were coming to kill and couldn't wait, were eager, were excited, were ready. I gripped my sword so hard my hands hurt, so hard my knuckles went white, so hard I couldn't feel my fingers, couldn't unclench even if I wanted to. I just held on because letting go meant admitting, meant accepting, meant understanding that I had no idea what I was doing, that I was going to die, that this was the end. The man beside me was shaking, visibly shaking, teeth chattering. He couldn't control it, couldn't stop, just shook with fear, with cold, with the absolute certainty that we were about to face something terrible, something we couldn't beat, couldn't survive, couldn't do anything except die trying to stop. Keol moved along the wall, still calm, still steady, still pretending that this was manageable, that we stood some chance, that fear was normal and acceptable and wouldn't kill us. "Steady, lads," he said, loud enough to hear over the rain, over the drums, over our own terror. "They want you afraid, want you to break before they even arrive. Don't give them that. Don't break. Not yet. Not until you have to. Hold. Just hold." His voice helped a little, gave something to focus on, something human, something that wasn't drums, wasn't chanting, wasn't the growing realization that the sound, the terrible sound, was getting closer, louder, more everything. And then I saw them. Not clearly, not details, just movement, darkness moving, shapes in the rain, coming closer, coming toward the fortress, toward us. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. A mass, a horde, an army that filled the valley, that stretched as far as I could see, that kept coming and coming and coming, like the darkness itself had taken form, had purpose, had decided to end us. They weren't hurrying, weren't charging, just marching, slow, deliberate, confident, because they knew they had us, knew we couldn't stop them, knew that numbers, that overwhelming force, that manufactured perfection would win. It always won. And we were just obstacles, delays, things to kill on the way to victory. They all came back to our section and looked out at the approaching army. His face was calm, resigned, knowing. He'd seen this before, seen battles, seen armies, seen death. This wasn't new to him, just bigger, worse, more final. "Remember what I taught you," he said to all of us, to the terrified men pretending to be soldiers. "Stand your ground, hold the wall, protect the—" He didn't finish. The arrow came from nowhere, from everywhere, from the darkness, from the army, from some Uruk with a bow who decided that this man, this commander, this voice of calm, he needed to die first. The arrow went through Coral's throat, through his neck, straight through. He didn't scream, didn't cry out, just stopped. Stopped talking, stopped moving. His eyes went wide with surprise, not afraid, not angry, just surprised, like he couldn't believe, couldn't accept that after everything, After all the battles, all the wars, all the times he'd survived, this was it. This was how. An arrow in the dark from an enemy he couldn't see. He fell, collapsed, hit the stone, didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't exist anymore. One moment he was there, alive, talking, helping, teaching, and the next, gone, dead, ended by an arrow, by chance, by random death in the darkness. The men around me froze, stared, couldn't process, couldn't understand. If Kjol could die, if the veteran, the commander, the man who knew what he was doing, if he could just die like that without warning, without fighting, without anything, then what chance did we have? What hope? What possibility? None. The answer was none. We had no chance, no hope, no possibility. We were going to die, all of us, just like Kjol, just like everyone. We were dead men standing, waiting for the arrows, for the swords, for the inevitable. Someone grabbed Kjol's body and pulled it back, away from the wall, made room. Because the wall, the position, it mattered more than the dead. More than grief. More than anything except holding, standing, surviving if possible, dying if necessary, but holding, always holding. I looked down at where Kjol had been, at the blood, at the rain washing it away, at the empty space where moments ago there had been something, someone, hope maybe, the belief that someone knew what they were doing, that someone could lead us, could show us, could help us. Now there was nothing, just us, just terrified civilians, just people who didn't know, didn't understand, didn't have any idea what to do, except stand and wait and pray that when they came, when the Uruk-hai reached the walls, when the real killing started, that somehow, impossibly, we would be enough. More arrows came, dozens, hundreds, flying over the walls, hitting stone, hitting shields, hitting men. Screams, thuds, bodies falling, death coming before the battle even started, before we could fight back, before we could do anything, except hide, cower, wait. I pressed against the stone, shield up, covering my head, my chest, anything vital, praying the next arrow wouldn't find me, wouldn't end me, wouldn't make me like Kjol, like the others, like all the dead who would never see morning. The drums were deafening now, the chanting, the screeching, the laughing, all of it surrounding us, overwhelming us, making thought impossible, making anything except fear impossible. Just noise and death and waiting for it to get worse, because it would get worse, it always got worse. And we all knew, that what came next, what was about to happen, it would be worse than anything we could imagine. The ladders hit the walls with a sound like thunder, wood on stone, dozens of them slamming into place, and immediately, the Uruk-hai started climbing, fast, practiced, efficient. These weren't fumbling soldiers, these were things bred for this, made for this, designed to kill, to climb, to overwhelm, to do what they were created for. The men around me stood and raised weapons, prepared as much as we could prepare, as much as people who didn't know what they were doing could prepare. We just stood, waited, gripped our swords, our shields, our terror, and faced what was coming. The first Uruk reached the top of our ladder, massive, snarling, ugly beyond description, face twisted, wrong, like something that had been made, not born, not natural, not human, not anything that should exist. And it came over the wall fast, confident, ready to kill, eager to kill. A soldier beside me, a real soldier, one of the Rohirrim, met it with sword against sword, fast, skilled, professional. They fought briefly, seconds. The soldier won, drove his blade into the Uruk's chest, kicked it back, down, off the wall, dead, ended, replaced immediately by another and another and another. They kept coming, kept climbing, kept attacking, endless, unstoppable, more. I stood back, stayed back, let the real soldiers fight because I didn't know how, would just die if I tried. So I stood, held position, waited, prayed that the soldiers would be enough, that they could hold, that I wouldn't have to actually fight, kill, do what Seol had said, what I knew I couldn't. But the soldiers were few, and the Uruk-hai were many, and they kept coming, and the soldiers kept dying, kept falling, kept failing, because numbers always win eventually. Certainly, absolutely. An Uruk made it past the soldier in front of me, and came over the wall right in front of me, massive, armed with an axe, looking at me, seeing easy prey, weak prey, prey that would die fast, that wouldn't fight, that was already beaten. It swung the axe at me. I raised my shield on instinct, not training, not skill, just fear. The axe hit hard, so hard the impact drove through my arm, through my shoulder, through my entire body, made me stagger, made me nearly fall, made everything hurt, made me understand that if that had hit my head, my chest, anywhere unprotected, I would be dead, done, ended. The Uruk swung again. I moved, barely. The axe missed, hit stone, sparked. The Uruk pulled it back, prepared for another swing, another attempt, another, but it stopped, grabbed its throat, blood poured between its fingers. An arrow. Someone had shot it from behind, from somewhere, saving me, killing it, ending the threat. The Uruk fell forward towards me. I tried to move, tried to get out of the way, but my feet, my legs wouldn't work, frozen, terrified, useless. The Uruk fell, hit me, knocked me down. Its weight, its blood, its everything on top of me, crushing me, drowning me, killing me maybe. I couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't do anything. Someone pulled it off, pulled me up, shoved me back into position. "Stay up! Don't fall! Don't give them space!" A voice, harsh, urgent. One of the other conscripts, someone like me, terrified but still fighting, still trying, still surviving. I stood somehow, legs shaking, hands shaking, everything shaking. The Uruk lay dead right there, right in front of me. Blood everywhere, its face, its throat, the arrow still in it, still there. Dead because of me? No, not me. Someone else. But it had tried to kill me, had almost succeeded. Would have, if not for luck, chance, someone else. I looked at it, really looked at the thing that had tried to kill me, that would have killed me, that wanted to kill me. And I realized Kuol was right. This wasn't a person, wasn't human, wasn't anything that deserved mercy, deserved hesitation, deserved anything except death. This was a monster, a thing made to kill, to destroy, to end, and it would keep killing, keep destroying, keep ending unless we stopped it, unless we killed it, unless we did what had to be done. Another Uruk came over the wall behind the first, climbing fast, seeing me, seeing easy prey, weak prey. The baker who didn't know how to fight, who would die fast, who would... It came at me with sword raised, ready, confident. And I didn't think, didn't plan, didn't do anything except what Chol said. Drive the point in. Don't think, don't hesitate, just do it. I thrust my sword forward, straight like Chorl showed, like I'd practiced, barely practiced. The point hit the Uruk in the chest, in the armor. But the armor didn't give way. It bent, flexed. The point didn't go through, didn't penetrate, didn't do anything. The Uruk laughed and grabbed my sword, pulled, trying to take it, trying to disarm me, trying to make me helpless, easy, dead. But I held on, gripped, refused to let go because letting go meant dying, meant having no weapon, no defense, no anything. So I held, pulled back, fought for it, for the sword, for my life, for everything. The Uruk pulled harder, stronger, so much stronger. I couldn't hold, couldn't win, I was losing, was about to lose, was about to die. Then someone else, another conscript, an older man with a grey beard, drove his sword into the Uruk's side, under the armor, into flesh, deep. The Uruk screamed, let go of my sword, turned, tried to attack the old man. But another soldier, another conscript, younger, a boy maybe, stabbed too from the other side, into the Uruk's back between armor plates, into flesh, organs, life. The Uruk fell, collapsed, stopped moving, stopped being a threat. Dead, killed by us, by people who didn't know what they were doing, by bakers and farmers and boys who stood together, who helped each other, who somehow were enough for that moment, for that kill, for that survival. I looked at the old man, at the boy, at the people who saved me, who killed for me, who kept me alive when I should have died, should have failed, should have been ended. Thank you, I tried to say, but my voice didn't work, couldn't work. Just nothing, just silence, just the understanding that I owed them everything, my life, my everything. They didn't respond, didn't acknowledge, just turned back to the wall, to the next threat, to the next Uruk, to the next moment of survival, because thanking, talking, anything except fighting, meant dying. And we weren't ready to die. Not yet. Not if we could help it. Not if there was any chance, any possibility of surviving, of seeing dawn, of living. Hours passed. I don't know how many. Time stopped meaning anything. There was just fighting, surviving, killing when I could, hiding when I couldn't, helping when someone needed it, being helped when I was about to die. Over and over, endless, repeating, the same desperate struggle, the same impossible odds, the same certainty that any moment, any second, the next Uruk would be the one that killed me, ended me, made me like Chorrol, like the others, like all the dead piling up on the walls. My arms burned, so tired, so heavy. Lifting the sword took everything, every bit of strength, every fragment of will. The shield, I could barely hold it, could barely keep it up, keep it protecting, keep it anything. Just exhausted, completely, utterly, beyond exhausted, beyond anything I'd ever felt. But I kept going, because stopping meant dying. And I wasn't ready, wasn't done. My family in the caves below needed me to hold, needed me to survive, needed me to do this, whatever this was, however impossible, however hopeless. I had to keep going. The boy beside me, the one who'd helped kill the Uruk, took an axe to the face, sudden, without warning. Just there, one moment, dead the next, fell without a sound, without time to scream, without anything. Just gone, ended, a child fighting, dying. For what? For us? For Rohan? For his family? For survival? It didn't matter. He was dead, and I couldn't stop, couldn't grieve, couldn't acknowledge, because the Uruk that killed him was still there, still attacking, still trying to kill more of us. And if I stopped, if I broke, if I let the boy's death mean something, mean anything, I would die too, would join him, would fail. I fought, stabbed, drove my sword into the Uruk, into its throat, messy, desperate, barely effective, but it worked. The Uruk fell, choked, died, and I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not pride, not anything, just emptiness, just the knowledge that I'd killed again and again, and would keep killing until I died, or until they stopped coming. The rain kept falling, The arrows kept flying. The Uruk-hai kept climbing, kept coming, kept attacking. Hours. It felt like hours, like forever. Like this was all there was, all there would ever be. Just fighting, dying, surviving, repeating, until everyone was dead. Until the wall fell. Until the end. And then the explosion. Somewhere behind me. Below, I couldn't tell. Just noise. Impact. The wall shaking, trembling, breaking? No, not here. Somewhere else. Another section. But close. Close enough to feel. Close enough to know. To understand. They'd done it. They'd broken through. Somewhere. Somehow. They'd breached the wall. Men started running. Falling back. Retreating. Not from our section. From others. From wherever the breach was. Running toward the keep. Toward the last defense. Toward the end. Because if the wall was breached, if they were inside, if the Uruk-hai got into the fortress, then everyone in the caves, everyone below, they would die. All of them. My wife, my children, everyone. Someone shouted, "Fall back! To the keep! Fall back!" Orders, commands, the decision made. We couldn't hold the wall, couldn't stop them, couldn't do anything except retreat, run, try to hold the keep, try to protect the caves, try to delay the inevitable. I ran, dropped my shield. Too heavy, too slow, just ran with sword still in hand. Barely, couldn't drop that, needed something. Ran with the others, the soldiers, the conscripts, the survivors, all of us running, fleeing, abandoning the wall, abandoning hope, maybe. The courtyard was chaos, men everywhere, Uruk-hai pouring through the breach, killing, destroying, overwhelming. We ran into the keep through the doors, heavy doors, iron-bound, strong. The soldiers, the remaining soldiers, held the doors, held them open, let us through, let everyone through. Then they slammed them closed, barred them, locked them, sealing us in, sealing them out. For now, for minutes, until they broke through, until they came for us, until the end. I collapsed against a wall, couldn't stand, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything. Just sat, gasped, tried to make my heart, my lungs, my body work, function, keep me alive, even though I knew we were done, knew this was it, knew the Uruk-hai would break these doors, would come through, would kill everyone, including my family below in the caves, waiting, trusting, believing that we would protect them, that we would save them, and we'd failed, we'd lost. We'd done everything we could, stood, fought, died, and it hadn't been enough. Would never be enough against 10,000, against Saruman's army, against impossible odds. I thought about my wife, my children below, not knowing, not understanding that their father, that all the men, that everyone had failed them, would die, would leave them to whatever the Uruk-hai did, to whatever horrors, to the end. I wanted to go to them, to run down to the caves, to be with them when it came, when the Uruk-hai broke through, when everything ended. I wanted to be with them, holding them, protecting them. Even though I couldn't protect them, couldn't stop what was coming, couldn't do anything except die with them, instead of apart. But I couldn't move, couldn't stand, couldn't do anything. Just sat, broken, defeated, waiting for the doors to break, for the Uruk-hai to come, for the end. Someone was talking. King Theoden, maybe? I couldn't see, couldn't focus, just heard words. Ride out. Meet them. Die with honor. Something like that. Something about making a last charge, about not waiting, about choosing how to die if we couldn't choose to live. Men moved, stood, prepared. The cavalry, the riders, what remained of them would ride, would charge, would die fighting, moving, active, instead of waiting. Passive, helpless. I wanted to join them, to stand, to ride, to do something, anything, except sit, except wait, except accept defeat. But I couldn't. Couldn't stand, couldn't move, just sat, watched, waited. The doors opened. The riders charged out into the courtyard, into the Uruk-hai, into death. Glorious, maybe, brave, certainly, but still death, still the end, still failure. And then light from outside, from the east, bright, blinding, impossible. The sun, but different, brighter, more, like hope made real, made visible, made real. A horn, clear, strong, familiar. The horn of Helm, the ancient horn, blown by someone from somewhere, announcing what? Help? Salvation? Impossibility? The riders charged, but not to death, not to failure, to something else, something possible. I crawled to a window and looked out. Saw them on the ridge, on the east, riders, hundreds of them, thousands maybe, led by someone in white, glowing, shining like light itself, like Gandalf. Gandalf. It was Gandalf, riding, leading, charging down the slope into the Uruk-hai, into Saruman's army, into everything we couldn't defeat, everything we couldn't stop, everything that was killing us. And they broke. The Uruk-hai scattered, fled, ran, not from us, from Gandalf, from the riders, from the impossible, the salvation, the hope, and behind them, behind the fleeing Uruk-hai, the forest, the trees moving, walking, attacking. Horns, the ancient trees come to fight, to kill, to destroy everything that had invaded, everything that had tried to end us. I watched, couldn't believe, couldn't understand, couldn't process that we had survived, that we'd won, that the impossible had happened. The sun rose full, complete. Morning, dawn, the end of the night, the end of everything, or the beginning of survival. I stood somehow, legs shaking, body broken, but standing. I walked down to the caves, to my family, to see, to know if they were safe, alive, okay. The caves were dark, crowded, frightened faces looking up, seeing me, seeing survivors coming down, bleeding, broken, but alive. My wife saw me, ran, grabbed me, held me, crying. I was crying too, couldn't stop, couldn't hold it in. The terror, the relief, the everything. My children held my legs, looking up, not understanding, not knowing what had happened, what we'd survived. It's over, I said, my voice broken, rough, barely working. It's over. We held. We survived. My wife just held me like she'd never let go, like I was precious, important, worth everything. And I understood. I'd done it somehow, impossibly. I'd stood, I'd fought, I'd been enough. Not a hero, not a warrior, not anything except a baker who stood on a wall, who held a sword, who survived when I shouldn't have, when everything said I would die. But I didn't. I lived. And that was everything. If you want to hear more tales from the battles of Middle-earth, from the people who stood when heroes stood beside them, from those who survived the impossible, please subscribe to Whispers from the Past. There are countless untold stories from the shadows of war, from the common men who held the line, from those who lived to tell what it was really like. Subscribe and journey with us through the forgotten memories of Tolkien's world.